welcome to the Deep Dive. And hey, whether you're joining us for the first time, or maybe you're one of our regulars tuning into, what is this, the 142nd episode of AI Podcast.
That's right, 142.
Well, either way, you are definitely in for a story today that almost beggars belief.
It really does.
We're unpacking something pretty extraordinary. A startup, right, went from just a side project to an $80 million acquisition. And get this, in less than 6 months.
Yeah, it sounds completely made up, like science fiction territory.
Exactly. But it's real. It
Yeah.
literally just happened, and we think it's a massive signal, a real bellwether for where software creation is actually heading.
Definitely.
So our mission today, let's do a proper deep dive into the journey of this company, Base44, from the initial idea right through to that stunning acquisition.
And we've got plenty to go on, articles, research, all giving us the roadmap.
All right, let's pull back the curtain. Start at the beginning. The main person here is Maor Shlomo. He's a 31-year-old founder from Israel. And Base44, it didn't start big. Not at all. It kicked off in January 2025, just a side project for Maor. And this was right after he finished his reserve military duty.
Can you imagine finishing reserve duty and then just casually starting this on the side?
I know. And then that side project, within months, just completely flips the script on how you even build software. It's wild.
Well, what's really interesting, I think, is Mayor's background. It kind of set the stage, didn't it? He's not exactly new to this whole startup thing.
No, not at all.
He used to be CEO and CTO of Explorium, founded that back in 2017, also after his military service, actually.
Ah, okay. So there's a pattern.
Yeah, and he's been noticed before. LinkedIn, X, Forbes Under 30 lists, that kind of thing. So yeah, Base44 was a side project, but he definitely knew his way around the block.
Right, but still, the speed of this one.
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes this story just
Made it good.
jump out. The velocity is insane.
Let's nail down that timeline again.
Okay, so launched January 2025. Acquisition by Wix announced June 18th, 2025.
That's, what, 5.5 months? Barely.
Barely. From zero to an $80 million exit. And remember, he started it solo.
Just him, initially.
Initially, yeah. He brought on a small team pretty quickly, but even when they got acquired, it was like 6 to 8 full-time people, max.
Wow. 6 to 8 people, building from scratch, hitting profitability, and then getting bought for $80 million, all in under half a year.
It's staggering. Makes you rethink everything, doesn't it?
It really does. Which brings us to the core question. How? I mean, how does such a tiny team pull that off? What was the magic? The core innovation?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? It boils down to Base44's core idea, what they call vibe coding.
Vibe coding. Okay, tell me more. It sounds catchy.
It is catchy, but it's also, fundamental to what they did. Basically, Base44 lets you build fully functional apps, websites, even games, using only natural language.
Wait, only natural language, as in I just type what I want.
Pretty much. You describe the vibe, the functionality in plain English, maybe some other natural languages too, and the platform translates that intent into a working product. No coding in the traditional sense, none.
Okay, but is it just making, like, a pretty front end? Or does it handle the actual nuts and bolts?
Oh, no, it's the whole package, end to end. It handles the front end, what the user sees and interacts with.
Right.
The back end, all the server logic, the brains behind it, the database for storing data, user authentication logins, security.
Seriously, all of that.
Yeah. Analytics, integrations for email, SMS, maps. Basically all the core stuff you need for a standalone app, and you don't have to go hook up a bunch of external third-party services.
That's huge. Integration is always such a headache.
Exactly. That's a massive bottleneck they just used AI to solve, apparently.
So how does it do that? What's under the hood?
Well, the engine driving it is Anthropic's Claude LLM, one of the big large language models.
Okay, Claude. Like ChatGPT's cousin, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. And they specifically chose to run it via AWS, Amazon Web Services. Apparently that was a strategic choice for cost and performance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Why Claude specifically, do we think?
Good question. Likely because Claude is known for being pretty good at handling complex instructions, maintaining context over longer conversations, maybe its few-shot learning capabilities. You need that if you're translating vague vibes into precise code.
Right, it needs to understand nuance.
Totally. And using AWS meant they could scale up their computing power whenever they needed it without massive upfront costs. Kept them lean and fast.
And they weren't just building this cool tech in a lab, right? I heard they were making moves early on.
That's right. They were smart about it. Even really early, they signed deals with some big names. Think eToro, Similarweb,
Wow. Okay, so getting validation quickly.
Exactly. Shows the tech wasn't just cool, it was useful to serious companies. And get this, because they chose Claude on AWS, Amazon actually noticed them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, AWS invited them to demo Base44 at an event in Tel Aviv. That's pretty good visibility, fast. Shows how quickly they built credibility.
Okay, so the tech is impressive, partnerships are rolling in. But what about users? Did people actually jump on board this vibe coding train?
Oh, did they ever? The growth numbers are just, well, they're nuts for a bootstrap company.
Shame on me.
Okay, so launched in January 2025. Within the first 3 weeks, 10,000 users.
3 weeks. That's incredible traction.
Tells you there was serious pent-up demand for something like this, right? Then, just a few months later, they blast past 100,000 users.
Really?
And by the time of the acquisition, across that whole 6-month period, 250,000 users. 250,000.
Okay, that's serious scale fast.
Yeah.
How did they even monetize that? How did they make money with, again, like 8 people?
Well, their model seems pretty clever. They had a generous free tier, which obviously helped pull people in really quickly, get them hooked.
Standard playbook, yeah.
But then they converted about 1,300 of those into paying businesses. Not just individuals, but small and mid-sized companies were paying for it.
Ah, so finding that product market fit with businesses very early. That's key.
Absolutely. It suggests the value proposition was super clear, super compelling right from the get-go.
And the financial result of that.
Yeah, this is where it gets really wild. By May 2025, just before the acquisition, Base44 was reportedly profitable.
Profitable already.
Yes, making about $189,000 a month after paying for all the LLM usage costs.
Get out. $189K a month profit with 8 employees.
I know, it's almost unheard of. It completely challenges that whole VC model of burning cash for years.
Totally. It's like bootstrapped blitzscaling. Is that even a term?
Huh? Maybe it is now. It shows that with these powerful AI tools, maybe you don't need massive funding rounds. You can get profitable almost immediately, keep ownership, and then negotiate from a position of strength.
That really does flip the script on the usual startup story.
Yeah.
That level of profit with that tiny team, it changes the economics.
Massively. AI just crushes the cost of actually creating and tweaking software, right? You need fewer human hours for the coding, the fixing. So margins can be way higher, even without millions of users.
It makes building valuable tech way more accessible. Less about who you know for funding, more about the idea and the execution.
Exactly. Democratizing is the word.
Which, inevitably, leads us to the big finale, the acquisition. $80 million. By Wix.
Wix.com, Ltd. Yep, the big Israeli website builder, no-code platform. They snapped them up.
And it wasn't just paper money. $80 million, all cash up front, plus potential earnouts later through 2029.
Solid deal structure. Shows Wix was serious.
And this part is amazing, too. That deal included a $25 million retention bonus pool just for those 68 team members.
That's huge. That's like, what, $3-4 million per person, roughly, just to stick around?
Yeah, it sends a clear signal. Wix wasn't just buying the code. They were buying the team and the brain power. They want that magic to continue inside Wix.
And it makes perfect sense from Wix's perspective. Strategically, they're already huge in no-code websites. Base44 brings in this super intuitive app-building capability.
Right. Complements their existing stuff perfectly.
Totally. Fits right into their bigger AI strategy. They've bought other AI companies like Our One. They've been beefing up their own AI tools like Wixel and Astro. Base44 is another major piece of that puzzle.
Staying ahead of the curve.
Definitely. But the other really unique thing here, you mentioned Maor started solo.
Yeah.
Well, he was the sole shareholder, 100% ownership.
No kidding. No VCs, no angels, nobody else on the cap table.
Nobody. He bootstrapped the entire thing. For anyone listening who doesn't know, the cap table shows who owns what percentage of a startup, and it usually gets super complicated with investors.
So Mao owned it all.
All of it. Which
Yeah.
means, first, the acquisition was probably way simpler to negotiate, no complex investor demands. And second, well, he personally captured the vast majority of that $80 million cash payment, minus the team's retention pool, obviously.
Wow. Just wow. That's the dream scenario for a founder, isn't it?
It really is. A testament to what one person, amplified by AI, can achieve now.
That is fascinating. But, thinking about it, are there potential downsides? A super lean company, solo founder, getting absorbed into a big company like Wix, does that always work out smoothly?
That's always the question with acquisitions, right? Integration can be tricky, different cultures, different ways of working.
Yeah, the small, agile startup versus the big corporation.
But that huge $25 million retention pool tells me Wix is very aware of that. They're putting serious money down to keep that specific team with their specific way of working, motivated and happy. It shows they value the how as much as the what.
Good point. They're investing in preserving that Base 44 magic, not just absorbing the tech.
Seems like it.
Okay, so let's zoom out again. We've got the speed, the tech, the growth, the exit. What does this whole Base 44 saga really mean for the future of tech? It feels bigger than just one company's success story.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's like Exhibit A for a whole new way of building companies.
How so?
It just validates this idea that a single founder or tiny, tiny team armed with the right AI tools can build something incredibly valuable, incredibly impactful with hardly any resources in record time. Base 44 is the proof.
So the barrier to entry for creating really powerful software is just collapsing.
Yeah, it feels like it's significantly lowering. Yeah. It democratizes things. It's less about capital, more about the ingenuity to leverage these AI tools effectively. And it proves this vibe coding concept isn't just a gimmick. It works.
And it changes the whole no-code landscape too, right? It's not just drag and drop anymore.
Exactly. It shifts no code from visual builders to like intent-driven conversational creation. You talk your software into existence. That's a paradigm shift.
A fundamental change.
And the acquisition itself highlights another big trend. Established players like Wix are aggressively buying up these AI-first tools. They know they need this cutting-edge capability to stay competitive. It's buy or be disrupted time.
So what's actually next for Base 44 now that it's part of Wix? Are they just going to be folded in, disappear?
Doesn't sound like it. The plan apparently is for Base 44 to remain a standalone product, a standalone business, under the Wix umbrella. Keep its own brand.
Okay, so Wix sees the value in keeping it somewhat distinct.
Seems that way. They probably want to maintain its agility, its specific focus, while giving it more resources.
And the roadmap sounds like it's getting a boost. Deeper B2B features, better support, faster delivery, leveraging Wix's scale.
Exactly. It lets Base 44 grow up, essentially. Mature its offering with the backing of a major player. Sounds like a good outcome for users.
And how does this fit into Wix's grand plan?
Well, they'll almost certainly weave Base 44's prompt-based app building into their main Wix tools eventually. Imagine being able to just describe the app you want right inside the Wix editor.
Wow, yeah. That takes this bleeding-edge tech and makes it mainstream, available to millions of Wix users.
Precisely. It democratizes that advanced AI capability on a massive scale. Turns software creation from a specialized skill into something potentially anyone can do just by describing their idea.
So looking back, Base 44, it really is more than just a quick $80 million story. It feels like a landmark.
A bellwether, like you said at the start.
Yeah, it shows the power of building in public, getting that organic buzz, and then finding that perfect strategic fit with a giant like Wix. It's kind of a new blueprint, maybe, for builders out there, maybe even for some of you listening.
It definitely poses a huge question, doesn't it? If one guy and a tiny team can bootstrap an $80 million AI company in less than 6 months using natural language, what does that really mean for the old ways of building software?
The traditional barriers seem pretty shaky all of a sudden.
Right. So the question for everyone listening is, with tools like this becoming available, what kind of innovation could you create? What ideas can you now bring to life that seemed impossible before?
That is a fantastic question to chew on. And speaking of more great conversations, just a quick heads up.
Yeah.
Our next episode is going to be a live one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this Thursday, 7 p.m., we'll be talking with Saurabh Gupta, who's the founder of Skit.ai. Should be really interesting.
Definitely one to tune in for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So mark your calendars for that. But for today's deep dive into the incredible story of Base 44, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Hope it gave you something to think about.